We have had our meat rabbit does and a buck in a colony for some time now, and recently there are several things which have happened that have caused us to need to do a major culling of our herd. But before we get into why we need to downsize most of our breeders, I'm going to give you a quick history to help everything make sense. We started with meat rabbits in hutches, then cages, then switched to our first colony, which ended up failing pretty bad. Make note of this rabbit Lolo because she has a big part to play in this story. So we went back to cages and ended up selling all our rabbits and buying new breeders who were Rosie and Basil. We built little colony pens for them, and through a complicated series of events, eventually ended up with Rosie, Basil, and their daughter Pepper, who we kept for breeding, all in a big colony, leaving the pens for grow-outs. Then we bought Lolo, one of our original breeders, back from our friends, and she eventually joined the colony. Then time passed, and Rosie died, Basil got sick, and we kept one of Lolo's kits and we named her Ivy. We also kept one of her sisters, but she died later and she isn't important in this story. During this same time, we also kept a kit from Rosie and Basil and named her Henwin. She was the kit who we had in a tractor eating only grass from 4 weeks to 4 months old. We also got 2 bucks, Ronwin and Ivanhoe, and 2 more does, Rinna and Selah. We also separately got a buck for free, named him Barlow, who we replaced Basil with as our colony buck. So now, eventually we had Lolo, Pepper, Rinna, Selah, Ivy and her sister, and Barlow in the colony. Then we took them out of the colony, put them in tractors, and decided we didn't like that, so put them back in the colony. Then fall came and babies started to be born, and we eventually ended up replacing Barlow with Ronwin as our colony buck. Then we also decided to keep one of Rinna's kits, Dasha, and also kept one of Selah's kits, Zulily, and got rid of Pepper. Then a new adult meat rabbit, Elodie, was put in the colony, then taken out, and she's currently residing in one of the pens neighboring the colony. So now, currently, we have Lolo, the original breeder, Ivy, her daughter, Henwin, Ivy's half-sister, Rinna, Dasha, her daughter, Selah, her daughter Zuzu, and Ronwin, all in the colony. Oh, and all the babies too young to be grow-outs. And remember that this is a very quick history, so why we did things and all more details will be explained at a later time in a different video. So we started with a wide variety of rabbits and gave them a chance to do well in our colony setup, feeding no pellets, and now it's time to keep the best and eat the rest. So these are the rabbits we're getting rid of and why we are getting rid of them. We are not going to sell any of these rabbits because I don't sell rabbits that I wouldn't want myself. These guys are all going to be butchered and eaten. So Lolo is going to go because she is 4 years old and has stopped having litters. Also, the past few litters she did have didn't go so great. She has served us well and is now going to be retired to rabbit heaven. Rinna is going because she's been a bad mama. She has struggled with using nest boxes, and sometimes she doesn't nest or pull enough fur and her kits freeze. And in this most recent litter, she stopped nursing them, and I had to force her to nurse her kits for a few days before she picked it back up again. Selah has to go because she has recently become a terror. She was my best mama and my favorite rabbit for what seems like forever, and she was an angel to all the other rabbits until recently. This past week, she has tried to steal a nest box, digging out the bedding and eating the ears off, and otherwise injuring the other litters inside in the process of trying to steal it. And the day before she gave birth, she was going around biting and pulling the fur of other rabbits' bottoms, lifting kits into the air by their behinds, and causing 2 kits now to have a limp. She thankfully now has mellowed out after having her unusually small litter, but that awful behavior will not be tolerated in this colony, so she has to go. But she just gave birth to a newborn litter, so I can't cull her anytime soon. So after she was done producing colostrum, I moved her 3 kits into Henwin's litter, so now she doesn't have to take care of a litter anymore, and she is ready to butcher. Henwin will probably go, but she's still kind of on the line. She has large litters, is a great mama to her kits in the nest, but she's kind of neglectful of them when they graduate the nest box. She also kind of randomly had 3 kits born with her eyes open, which is a first for her and a first for me. So I don't know if that was just a fluke thing or if that's going to be the norm for her now. So if she has another litter, we will have to see about that. And she does have a chance to redeem herself if she does better with this current litter, if she's, a great mom with them out of the nest box, but she is on the line, and I'm kind of leaning towards butchering her. And that leaves Miss Ivy, my best mama who always has good litters. They're small but well fed and well taken care of. She builds great nests and does a great job taking breaks in between breedings. So unless she randomly starts killing kits or something awful like that, she's totally staying. And Elodie, Dasha, and Zuzu all haven't had any litters yet, so we're going to keep them and see how they do as mamas, and cull them or keep them accordingly. And our amazing buck, Ronwin, who is doing very good, will stay for sure as well. So now we have a list of culls, but we can't butcher them all right away. Many of these does are in the middle of raising litters. So today I'll be able to butcher Lolo because she doesn't have a litter, and I was able to successfully foster Sayla's kits to Henwin, so she is free to eat. Rinna has a 2-week-old litter, and Henwin has a 1-week-old litter, so they both have to live a bit longer. And even though some of these does will be pregnant when I butcher them, I've weighed the pros and cons and have decided to butcher anyway. It'll be interesting to see if the other rabbits notice a difference or miss their friends, and I wonder if the rabbit hierarchy will be affected in any way with 2 of the main does gone. Some people may be wondering why I decided to cull these does instead of changing my housing setup or feeding method to better fit them. Well, the answer is, I have tried other methods of raising rabbits and have found a housing setup and feeding system that I like best. These rabbits have been bred for generations to do well in cages eating pellets, so it will take some selective breeding to get the perfect rabbits that thrive in a more natural habitat, eating a more natural diet. I'm not afraid to use a little elbow grease to get the rabbits I want. And Ivy and Ronwin are proof that my goal of 100% natural and sustainable meat rabbits isn't impossible. I will just have to make some hard culls to get back to how rabbits were made to be. I remember the first time I saw you, Sayla, when we went to buy you from the breeder. I remember thinking how pretty you were. You were so little, and I held you in my arms, and I checked you over. You were so pretty. I remember your first litter, and you didn't have any harlequin babies, which I was sad about, but you had otters, and they were so pretty. I remember what a good mom you were your first time, and finding your babies and getting to watch you give birth for the first time. It was so fun and so special. I remember the first time you had harlequin babies with Ronwin, and they were so pretty. I remember coming out and checking the babies and seeing the pattern on them, and being so excited, watching them grow and be so beautiful. I remember that. You were a big part of that, weren't you? I remember when other does were having problems with litters and accidentally killing them or not using nest boxes and having so many problems, and then there was you, who was doing so well. I could always count on you to have amazing litters, be a great mom. I wouldn't have to worry about your babies at all. You were such a help and comfort to me when other rabbits were having problems. Thank you for that. I remember when you started being bad and hurting the other babies, and me thinking how sad I was. How sad that I'd have to kill you. I really do like you a lot. And I'm going to miss you when you're gone. You're so pretty. You've been such a good mom. You are just amazing all over. I'm going to be really sad when you're gone. And I wish you weren't so bad all of a sudden, and that I could keep you. But it's going to be hard when you're gone. I'm going to miss you. I love you. Oh, Lolo. I'm going to be so sad when you are gone. You are a very special rabbit. I remember the first time we ever had baby bunnies born. Ever in our entire lives. It was your babies. We came out. It was 2 days after Christmas. Christmas present for us. First babies. We came out. You did a beautiful job. Had an amazing nest. You had so many babies. There were like 7. And oh, they were so pretty. And you let us hold them just fine. You had a super small cage at the time. And you were the best mom. We didn't have any troubles with you. It was such a nice experience. The first time ever having baby rabbits. Thank you for that. I remember when we were weaning the first litter, or, around then, in a really kind of hutch-like structure. And they were all cute and toddling around. It was our first time with babies, and they were at the adorable, 2 to 3 week old stage. And they were all walking around, and then you jumped down from your little perch, and they all try to nurse on you, and then you run back. We had a little high spot you could get to. And you just sat up there all day. We'd give you special food and water because you didn't want to be by the baby bunnies. It was so fun, Lolo. I remember when we had to sell you. It was really sad. You were such a good girl, we had to sell you to our friends because we decided we didn't really want you anymore. But it was sad to see you go, because you're such a special girl. I remember when we first got you at 5 months old, you were super scared of us, and you'd attack us in our hands whenever we tried to feed or water or hay in your cage. I remember working with you every day, sometimes forcing you to not attack us. I gained your trust, and eventually you were the sweetest rabbit, and you've still stayed one of the sweetest rabbits we have. I can always come up to you and give you head scratches. Do you remember when we bought you back from our friends and we brought you home, had you in a little quarantine hutch for a while? Then we didn't really have the best nest box for you, and your babies died, and we were so sad. Remember when, after we moved you from your cage, we moved you into one of the pens, and we kept hoping you'd have different color babies, but you'd always have just black babies. All of them were just black, but then there'd be random white patches on some of them, and they were so pretty. It was so exciting to see what each new litter would bring. And then I remember when we first brought you back in the colony, and we'd come in and you'd rush up to us, asking for food like you do now. It was so fun and so nice and so right feeling to have you back in a colony. I remember how sad it was when your last litter died. I don't really know why it died. Very sad. They all froze. But they had a pretty good nest. It was so sad, wasn't it? And now you haven't had any more babies for many months. I'm so grateful for all of the times we've had together, and thank you for all the amazing learning experiences you've given me. I'm sorry that we weren't always the best rabbit owners, because we have learned a lot with you and your babies, and it probably was kind of weird sometimes, us having to learn on you. But overall, we have tried to give you the best life we can, and I think in most areas we have succeeded most of the time. So thank you for all of your time and service you've given us. Thank you for the babies you have given us, and thank you for the life you're about to give us to feed our family. Thank you for feeding our family with your children, and now with yourself. Gonna miss you, Lolo. You're really special to us. Well, you two, let's get to it. No time to waste. Got lots of projects today. Thank you both. Thank you both for your sacrifices you're going to give us. I will try my very best to make sure that your end is quick, painless, and nice, and I hope that you have a safe trip up to Rabbit Heaven. Goodbye to both of you. I love you both very, very much. So Lolo is gone and Sayla is gone. We are going to keep Henwin and Rinna for the time being, and we will let them raise their litters up when their litters are old enough to wean. And if they don't have babies because they've been rebred soon after birth, then that might be kind of hard, but we'll figure it out and hopefully butcher them as soon as possible, so we'll be left with 4 breeding does and 1 breeding buck. And then maybe I can try having Elodie back in the colony and see if having less does and the hierarchy changed a lot helps anything. So this was certainly a somber video and a sad day. These rabbits I've known for a long time. Lolo was the first rabbit we ever had. She had babies for the first time, and we learned so much with her. And Sayla had such beautiful babies, and we'll really miss them both. But this was the right decision to make, even though it was hard. And I'm so glad in the direction that we are moving, and I'm excited for what the future will hold with our meat rabbits.